Hello, my name is Carl Tutton, and I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Waterloo. I study in the Waterloo Industrial Ecology Group with a focus on the design of consumer electronics as well as electronic waste. Today I'll be presenting the projected product lifespan, a labeling system and databasing system that could help to alleviate the issues associated with short-lived products in the consumer electronics space. The focus on portable consumer electronics such as smartphones and laptops becomes clear when we look at the increasing trend of production of e-waste globally. In Canada, we produce approximately 20 kilograms of electronic waste per capita. In total, the world is producing over 50 megatons of e-waste each year. We can see from this graph that that amount is increasing over time. And while this doesn't take into account the COVID-19 pandemic, we also know that the United States has seen a decrease in overall e-waste production as a result of the lightweighting of products, but the global e-waste production continues to increase. This is in part due to an increase in the cycle rate of consumer electronics as well as other types of electronics. Smartphones and laptops are especially known to have short lives and consume a large amount of resources in their manufacturing phase. In many cases, 70 to 90% of the impact of the life cycle of a smartphone or laptop may be incurred in the manufacturing phase. Many regions and municipalities, as well as nations and international organizations, have taken action on the issues of e-waste. Many of these agreements that were signed were in the context of a global north, global south divide, where wealthy nations would export products that were at their end of life or could conceivably be reused to the global south, where, in worse environmental and working conditions, these products would be dismantled or repurposed. This led to the introduction of the Basel Ban and the Basel Convention, which prohibited the transiting of e-waste to developing nations. However, we can see that even though we banned such practice, though Canada remains non-signatory to the Basel Ban, we still don't collect a significant amount of e-waste produced in our country. In Ontario, we can see that over the last several years of the now deprecated stewardship model, we were collecting a decreasing amount of e-waste per year. This, despite the production of e-waste being maintained at approximately 20 kilograms per capita. The focus of this proposal is on portable electronics such as cell phones and laptops, specifically because we know from information gathered by the Canadian Wireless Telecommunications Association, many people do not recycle their phones. Instead, many people store them away, give them away, and some recycle them, though a very small percentage. At this point, approximately 10% of individuals recycle their phones. While recycling is a good end of life for some products, it is not the best end of life for many products. If opportunities were given for products to be repaired, reused, or simply mildly refurbished and given to another use, it will be much better in terms of the total materials required for the production and function of such technologies. The proposed labeling standard is very similar to the French Repairability Index. This index was introduced only a few years ago and has already seen significant uptake in the French electronics ecosystem. While impressive, this system has some flaws which can be seen from the two images presented below. Here we can see that one of the products, in this case an ordinateur portable Y, a popular brand in France, has a scorecard attached to it, indicating that its manual is available online, that it doesn't require too many tools, and other information that contributed to its relatively high score, 9.8 out of 10. Whereas the Microsoft Surface Book 3 does not have any information as to why it gets 3.5 out of 10. This lack of information and lack of transparency, even on the scorecard for the Y laptop, indicates that consumers don't have access as to how it received that score. As part of the proposed labeling standard and the associated database, I posit that it would be a very good and environmentally advantageous idea to attach not only a label that indicates the projected life of the product, but extra information so that individuals could make meaningful, informed decisions about purchasing such rapid turnover devices which consume so many resources in their manufacturing phase. As seen in the previous slide, a simple number associated with a product is really what most people are willing to look at. Similarly, I have a simple proposed idea for this labeling standard, a bar that is longer or shorter depending on the projected product lifespan, in addition to a year count that is relevant to that specific product type. As we can see, it goes from red to green and has some supplementary information which may be of positive value to the product. This is important. Product differentiation in this context should only be positive. If a product has very few features, nothing would be listed, and a low score of 1 to 2 years or 2 to 3 years would be attached to it at a bottom left location of the product or similar location in the product packaging. While this is a fairly simplistic model, this would be associated with a database accessible to everybody online where they could look up the product ID, model number, and year, and find out more about the product. Why did it receive this score? Why is the battery more replaceable? This is because it would integrate a lot of the good ideas that were implemented in the French Repairability Index, but make them more available, make the information about why the score was received more transparent. With a simple score, people would be able to make decisions about which product they prefer, especially if they don't have any particular attachment to a brand or operating system. Perhaps they just want a device that they can get used to and use for a long period of time, although we should take into consideration that many people value the brand name as well as the look, feel, and aesthetic of many products. By attaching these scores, we can perhaps begin to push people away from simple cost, look, and style as their main motivating purchase factors. If people know that a product lasts a shorter period of time and therefore will likely consume more resources as people need to purchase new ones, we can begin to move people towards a more circular economy method of thinking, whereby we can consume fewer resources and achieve similar societal and economic goals. The appeal of this proposal is that it is fundamentally simple for the consumer to interact with. This idea isn't coming out and reinventing the wheel. Instead, we have a similarly developed country which has a similar type of standard. This standard, however, is more holistic. The life cycle and longevity approach is very useful for this specific product category of portable consumer electronics. As we enter into a climate change dominated discourse, it is imperative that these electronics and these manufacturers begin to address the pervasive linear economic model which produces so much waste. This idea is to create a label and a database that is to the point and easy to read in non-technical language. It's to provide information to individuals about the products they already own and products they may want to own, and give them another dimension of information. This is a relatively low-cost and non-prescriptive approach that allows manufacturers to take different angles on reducing the impact of their devices. Thank you for taking the time to review this proposal. As I continue my academic journey through the sustainable product design and e-waste world, I find that these simple first steps, whereby we provide more information to the public and to consumers, can have a meaningful impact, though it should be followed by meaningful action at the regulatory and national levels. As we enter into the climate change dominated discourse, it becomes more important for the companies that manufacture our everyday electronics to also take notice and to take action. Thank you very much.